Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rotary. My name is Jennifer Bourne. Yay, thank you. I am your fearless leader this year. I might be fearful later in the year. Today, our invocation is led by Claudia Buchanan, and the pledge and four-way test is by Laura Troop. Claudia, will you?
Will you pray with me? Loving God, as we gather today in the spirit of Rotary Fellowship, we pause to give thanks for the many blessings in our lives and for the opportunity to serve and for the guiding principles that unite us in purpose and action. In times of uncertainty and division, we're reminded of the enduring wisdom of the four-way test, how different our communities, our nation, and our world might be if all embrace the values of truth, fairness, goodwill, friendship, benefit to all. Help us, Lord, to live out these ideals not only in our vocations, but in our daily encounters, our decisions, and our service. May we each become instruments of peace, justice, and compassion in our own spheres of influence, joining hearts and hands with Rotarians around the globe. Bless this meeting, this food, and our fellowship. May our actions today and always reflect the highest ideals of Rotary and bring light to the lives of others. This we pray in the name of the one who taught us to love and to live. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth,
All right, and next, our secretary, Jennifer Shepard, will introduce guests.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to start right here because it's the table I'm sitting at. So Kip's got a guest. Would you like to either introduce him or?
This is Will Brown. He's with the Benefits Group. He does an amazing job giving great healthcare, medical benefits to my businesses. I'm grateful he's here as well, sharing fellowship.
All right, now moving over here, Roger Greenup has a whole squad. If you follow Taylor Swift, you know that's the word now. He has a squad.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good friends with me today, and also Doug fans. First, Patsy Hutchinson and Larry. Randy Swanson in the yellow shirt, and Richard Norman. So happy to have them with us.
All right, and here's a familiar face over here, Nelson.
Nelson Andrews. I'm not sure if I'm Curry's guest or Keely's guest, but I appreciate having me back here again, and thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so I did not scope out the room well enough to know to memorize where everybody's sitting. Where's Doug Wright and Jim Billers? Okay, we'll head over here.
Good afternoon. My guest is Angela Farkas, and she's with the Marina Search Partners.
I have with me today Jerry McCullough.
And here's Mark's got a guest.
Brad Glossinger's back. He's with MedVest and Hospital Development.
Then we have two more familiar faces that are in our membership pipeline. So we've got Tom Tunnicliffe over here, who's been here before. And over on this side of the room, we have Randy Lee, who's also been here before. Did I miss anybody? We're working on our new system with these slips. I want to make sure I did not miss anybody. All right. Thanks for being here.
All right. Welcome to all the guests. All right. Next for announcements. First, we're going to do our Rotary Minute. membership, oh, I just gave you the answer. I was gonna say, what month is this month? And it's the last week, so we will get it. Quick question for you guys. Where are we meeting next week? Hope you all heard that. We are not meeting next week. It is Labor Day weekend, so we want to give you a nice long weekend. So make sure if you show up, Alan Treadway, we will not be here. Just so you know. Okay, so you have some M&Ms on your table. Does anybody remember from last week, our Rotary Minute, what M&M stands for? Well, not you. You did the minute. Anybody else? There you go. See, I didn't even need to ask for your help earlier. I couldn't remember what it stood for. Membership and money. And this was the slide from last week, if y'all were not here. Couple things for a Rotary Minute. Michael's going to come up and share with you about the committees that if you would like to be a part of, because some of you are not on committees, for the membership.
So we are going to start working more on retention. We've done a really good job of bringing members in, but I feel like we need to do a better job in your first year to 2 years of getting you more plugged in. Sometimes we're losing some members. So anybody that's interested in the retention committee, please email, call, reach out to me, because our focus is going to be getting members quickly plugged in, finding committees for them, finding what they want to do in Rotary. I know the past presidents do a great job of orientation, and then we're like, hey, welcome to Rotary. And you just become a Rotarian with about a month's notice. So the retention committee is going to focus on really getting you tied in. So please reach out to me and join the retention committee. So.
Okay, last week we had an ice cream social. I put a picture in reflections if you were able to see it. We had a really good turnout. For those who were not able to come, our past president, Leon Partain, is a resident over at Morning Point. So if you have a heart to go and visit with him, get with Claudia and go check it out. We had a really nice visit with him and with some of our members' mothers and other family members. So it was a great event. We have a couple other events coming up. Larry, did you want to have a moment? No pressure. I put you on the spot.
I didn't know how much I like chili with Frito-Lays on it. Okay, last week, the heroes for the week were Jared Tanksley, Mike Barrett, John Kreft, Curry Andrews, Bill Jetter, Kristen Schreiner, and Bob Thompson. Those are the members that sold last week. Round of applause, please. They sold $4,950 worth of sponsorships, which is excellent, except it's way short of what we need. 2 weeks from Monday's our tournament. Your last week to work on the tournament is probably this next week. We might get a few in the week after before the tournament. They got to start making the signs for the sponsors and things, so it's going to cut us short on getting much. We can't wait 2 weeks. We got a week and a half probably to work. So please get out there and make those calls. We still have, I think, 5 or 6 of the remaining outstandings from last year. Your team captain should have that list. If you hadn't seen it, contact your team captain. If you got somebody to prospect one of those are the bigger sponsorships. We'd love to sell 1 or 2 or 3 more of those. The golf tournament's going to happen. We got plenty of players. That's not the issue. The issue is that the purpose of this is to raise funds for the club, and it's our job to do it. So you got a week and a half or so to get out there and try to get us as much money as we can. Thanks to all those who did it last week, and I hope to have a better list next week. Thank you.
I was going to ask Doug if he wanted to.
Doug Wright would like to make a few comments about our auction, which he has been working on very hard.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder, our auction is going to go live on Monday. It's the BrentwoodRotaryAuction.com. That will redirect to our auction site. There's a ton of items. There's even more than what I had mentioned last week. And we do have some contributions from some of our members. Is Drew here? He had gotten a gift card from one of the local restaurants. No, Drew Cressman. And then we have Linus. He got a donation from a local golf course and is working on another one. I think Steve Passon is going to donate some items too. So if anybody has anything that they want to contribute, just get a hold of me. I need a picture, description, how much it costs and bid total, and then we'll put it together, get it uploaded. But otherwise, we have about 30 items right now. And like I mentioned last week, it is no cost to our club. This is all profit, so please spread the word, spread the link, coworkers, you members of your community and family, and social media. So thank you.
Okay, one more event to kind of get on your radar is 9/11. We are having our annual picnic in conjunction with the Brentwood Morning Club. So it is our evening activity. It does take the place of our club meeting, so we will not be meeting the following day, but we would love everybody to attend. Right there. So we will continue to put that in reflections, and this will be up every week, upcoming events. All right, so Happy Bucks, Drew Cressman. Where are you at?
In here?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was 5 weeks ago today that I introduced my grandson to the club, and me being all excited about my first grandson. So I went online and bought him a gift, an outfit. And it comes in a couple of days later, and I'm all excited about it. And I show it to my wife, and she kind of looks at it and shakes her head a little bit. She goes, I think that's more for you than it is him. So let's pull up that picture and tell me what everybody thinks. So, I mean, where did she get that idea? So I want the coach to know that I was destined to buy that outfit on October 22nd of 1966, because that's the day my dad took me to my first Alabama football game at Legion Field against Vanderbilt.
Who else is happy at this?
I had an absolutely outstanding Rotary week this week. On Tuesday, I took our partner in anti-human trafficking, Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition, to the McKenzie, Tennessee Rotary Club. Not only did we receive a really enthusiastic reception, but it was one more city in Tennessee that I hadn't visited that I got to see. And then on Wednesday, we went to the Clarksville Club and got another outstanding reception. So the Anti-Human Trafficking Initiative with District 6760 is really starting to roll. I think we visited now 8 clubs, and we've got half a dozen more that are kind of lined up on the taxiway. So it's a good program. We're making progress, and people enjoy the presentation.
Jeff? Who else is happy? Going once. Going twice.
At McKenzie, we had 9 police officers, and one of them was an all-black German Shepherd police dog that they had brought in from Poland, full of puppyhood, and that dog was running around making all kinds of friends, not doing a very good law enforcement job.
Thanks, Jeff. That it?
All right, anybody else? All right, so now we're going to move on to the speaker. Hunter McCarty is going to come up and introduce someone I think we all know in the room.
One of my daughter's favorite things is hands down. When she has something she thinks is really superior, so she'll say hands down such and such. So today I'd like to say hands down for the program, because this has got to be one of those programs that we look forward to every year. In fact, before the year even gets started, people wanting to know when's Doug coming. So we're very fortunate today, and it's my pleasure to introduce Doug Matthews. I'm going to just give him a brief introduction because most of you have heard it before, but some of his highlights, Doug was from Oklahoma. He started at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M before completing his playing days at Vanderbilt University. But Matthews served as the assistant coach at the University of Tennessee from 1980 to 1989 under head coach then Johnny Majors. And then after coaching, he retired from coaching in 1991 to focus on his family and co-founded Doug Matthews Team Sports with his wife, Pat. So for over 25 years, Matthews has been a prominent voice on Nashville sports radio, developing insights on Tennessee football, Vanderbilt football, and all the SEC teams. His show, Football Saturday, Coach to Coach, and Big Orange Sunday all run on 104.5 The Zone. But today, he was honored just recently, in fact, the last few months. In 2025, he was inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in recognition of his outstanding contribution to the sport within the state. So it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Doug Matthews.
Thank you, Hunter. It's always good to be back here. I usually don't make recommendations to clubs I don't belong to, but I would make one to whoever your screening committee is to let people in here. I would really check out that table setting right there because there's some unscrupulous people sitting over there. Most of them in my Sunday school class. Anyway, good to be here. It always is. This kind of, there's some things that kind of kick off football. The SEC Media Days has always been one for me. Media Days everywhere. They're usually all about the same. And then for me here locally, of course, it's this club, and Hunter and I have known each other for 60 years, I guess, something like that. Anyway, by the way, the M&M is kind of interesting to me. I grew up in Pitcher, Oklahoma, which is 5 miles from Commerce, Oklahoma, where Mickey Mantle was from. And so the M&M back when I was growing up was Mantle and Maris. So anyway, I brought back some old memories there on that. A couple of things I'll get into today. I'm gonna hit a couple of topics, and then kind of open it up for questions because sometimes at the end I get to where we don't have time for questions, and we'll take a few questions. And I'll come back and kind of end some things after that. Where's the state of football right now? I get asked that a lot, and a couple of different areas that I'll talk a little bit about today. First, the on-the-field product, what happens between the lines on the field, and then the other is the off the field. On the field, and I've been following this for many, many, many years now, ever since I was really a little boy. I knew I was going to be a football coach somewhere. Figured it'd probably be at Pitcher Middle School, but and people ask me about how I keep up with stuff. Football to me is probably like business is, or maybe some other thing or two. I look at something college football wise every single day. When I get up in the morning, I usually go and check out CBS.com, ESPN.com. Check out a couple of websites just to see what's going on in college football, because not only I kind of work on the shows then, but quite frankly, it's the thing that I'm really interested in. So I keep up with what's going on in college football. And from everything I see, I don't think I know, in my opinion at least, the game of college football has never been better. Now, the off the field part of it and some of the things that happen behind the scenes, maybe not. But the actual game right now, if you look around the country, there are so many really good football teams. There's a lot of really good football teams that we don't even know are really good football teams because they play in really good football conferences. But the game itself right now, much safer than it's ever been. Tom Ritter, who I have on my show during football season, has talked so much about how the rules that have been changed, the fact that teams now can practice longer. They don't have two-a-days anymore. It's really made the game a lot safer. It's still a violent game, and anybody that plays it knows it is a violent game, but you know what you're getting into on that. So the on the field is great. The off the field, it kind of depends on how you look at it. I normally, when I talk about what's going on with name, image, likeness, the new revenue share plan that they have, which I'll touch on here in just a second, the transfer portal, it's kind of like whatever your business is. There's things in your business that change, maybe technology, maybe rules, maybe regulations, and you either have to change with them or you got to find a new line of work. And that's kind of what football coaches have to do. They all know what the rules are. Some of them, the rules are very fragmented, but You have to work with whatever, in whatever the rules are. And one of the things that the good coaches do, not always the successful coaches, because again, that has a little bit to do with who you're coaching, but they figure out and they look ahead, how can the rules benefit me? One of the rule changes is going to be, and I'll lead into that, is this faking of injuries to stop these fast-paced offenses. Every fan base I've ever heard, every fan base thinks that the other team is faking injuries to slow down the game, but their team's not. And then vice versa on the other side of it. But this year they have tried to address this. And so they now have a national rule that if you fake an injury, or if you go down after the ball is put in play, has been set down after a play, then it's either going to be a timeout or you're going to get a 5-yard penalty if you don't have a timeout left. So the key is on that, whenever that official gets that ball, you see him passing it in. These fast-paced offenses, if you've noticed this, we used to just take the ball when I was playing and flip it to the linesman or flip it to somebody else. You watch these fast-paced offenses now, that ball carrier gets up, whoever has the ball, and he goes and hands it to the umpire, who is the guy that actually spots the ball. Because in the old days, we just handed it to the linesman or whatever, and then they'd pass it in through there. So once that ball hits the ground, it's said, if you go down with an injury, regardless of what it is, you're going to either have your coach is going to have an opportunity to call timeout, or you're going to get a 5-yard penalty, a delay a game. Now, the thing that I know is going to happen, you probably heard me say this in the past, it's kind of like the IRS when they put a new tax law in. They put it in a week. In the next 52 weeks, every CPA in the country is figuring out how to get around that new rule. That's what coaches do. You put a rule in, they say, okay, well, how can we get around that rule? And I'm assuming what they're going to do is, if they decide to hit the ground, they're going to tell that guy to hit the ground before they put that ball on the ground. So we'll see how that works out. That's the only big rule change on that. I know you're going to ask about this, so I'll go ahead and hit it. That came out yesterday. Southeastern Conference has agreed to go next year, 2026, to 9 conference games. And that will, they'll go, and when they do that, that will go where every team will have 3 traditional opponents. Right now, we just have 1. For instance, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, traditional opponent. Alabama, Auburn, traditional opponent. It'll be 3 next year, 2026. So you'll have 3 traditional opponents that you'll keep every year. And then the other 6 will rotate. I don't think they've decided whether it's going to rotate every 2 years or every 1 year where they'll rotate the teams. But the bottom line will be every team will play every other team at least every 2 years, and they'll play on the road. They'll play in the other team's home at least once in 4 years. So I hope that didn't gobbledygook to you. But now, why's that big? It's big because what this puts in place now is for the college football playoffs to expand to 16 teams. There was a little holdup on that. Every other conference, by the way, the other 3 power conferences already are playing 9 games. So one of the sticking points, particularly with the Big Ten, of what do you go to 16 teams? Do you have automatic qualifiers? One of it was that the Southeastern Conference would not agree to go to 9 games. That's all been settled now. So what's in place is in 2026, we're going to have a new college football playoff with 16 teams when it's all said and done. And they'll go with what they call the 5-11 model. 5 of them will be conference champions, and the other 11 will be at-large bids that the committee will pick. One of the big sticking points with both the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten is that what are the rules, or what are the regulations, what are the analytics, what are the talking points that those other 11 are picked by? They've really strengthened that now, where a strength of schedule is going to be the biggest component for those other 11 teams. So in other words, Texas and Ohio State open up the season. One of those is going to have a loss, a non-conference loss. So let's say Florida, by the way, are there any Florida fans in here? I'm sure there may be one or two. Do you know who Florida, I was looking through some schedules. I don't know how many. Do you know who Florida opens up with? Long Island University. I've never heard of Long Island University, so I Googled it last night. They were started in 1927. They played in one bowl game in 98 years, right? Their stadium that they play in is not on campus. And the reason they're playing in Gainesville is, I'm sure there's another reason, but their stadium only holds 6,000 people. Now, how in the world that game got scheduled, I have no idea, but but that's example of that is, I mean, let's say Texas gets beat by Ohio State and Florida beats Long Island University. At the end of the year, is that loss going to go against the Florida's win? Not under the new analytics on that. Anyway, all right, I'm going to open up just for some questions. I've got several other things I want to get into. One thing too, interesting about quarterbacks and the transfer portal. There's 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference. 8 of those teams, exactly half, have a transfer quarterback starting for them this year. Half of this league has a transfer portal quarterback. Just think about that. That is the key position, and how those guys play are gonna make a huge difference in it. So let me hit a couple of questions, and if we don't, I got several other things I do want to get into, and somebody will tell me when the hook's coming. So yes, sir.
So as you're saying with the Long Island to 9 games, that's going to eliminate some of those tough games that pretty much paydays for the small schools that usually makes their budget probably for $1 million or $1.5 million playing these games. So what do you see as those games are going to be reduced and those smaller schools aren't going to be getting those paydays as much? What do you see happening with the lower class of college football?
Well, along with the 9 games, then a 10th game has to be from a Power 5 school. So there's only going to be 2 opportunities for, like Tennessee plays ETSU. They played Austin Peay a couple of years ago. And a lot of programs, quite frankly, did that because of the giving an in-state school the $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million that they would make. That was part of the reason they did it. Other reasons were that, they wanted maybe to have a team that wasn't quite as tough as others. But every Southeastern Conference team and most of the other big Power 4 Power 4 conferences, they're going to have 10 games. You take Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida State, and who am I missing? Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida State and Georgia. They have an in-state opponent that they play the last game every year. That's not a conference game, so they're already doing that. So, but again, strength of schedule. The reason they're able to do that now, and you're going to see more and more games. This year, I think it's the best opening weekend from a ranking standpoint. The opening weekend, not this first weekend, it has 5 games, but the 30th weekend, there are 3 matchups between top 10 teams that are playing each other. So, 6 schools are playing that are in the top 10 are playing each other. And they're able to do that now because of the strength of schedule component, because somebody's going to win. We don't have ties anymore. Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach. We've seen sports gambling be brought up a lot recently with the quarterback out of Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on sports gambling at the college level versus, and also how do we keep it out of the locker room, so to speak?
Well, interesting. This Saturday during the 10 o'clock hour, I'm going to have Dennis Dodd on. Dennis Dodd was one of the preeminent sports writers, CBS Sports guy that I read all the time. He's going to be on my show all year now, but he's going to talk about the Hero and all this year. Said his prediction is that sometime in the next 2 years there's going to be a major gambling scandal in a Power 4 sport, not particularly football. But here's where the problem is coming in on this. It's not, coaches are not worried about their players gambling. All right. Because you have, I was up in Knoxville this past week. And while I was there, all these conferences now have former FBI agents that come in. They sit down and talk with the players and let them know. When I was playing, if you even drove through Las Vegas, you were you weren't going to be a player. That's all changed now. But here's where the coaches are worried, and I think rightfully so. It's these in-game prop bets that you say, okay, Doug, you're the quarterback. We want you to win as much as you can. Just don't throw for over 250 yards, or just don't score more than one rushing touchdown. But even that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem with coaching now, and I don't know if you read about some of this, but there's going to be a lot of investigations in this. These players now, if they don't perform the way that with the numbers that the bets are made on, they get harassed. They get online harassment. All of them are on social media now. So that is probably the big problem right now. Now, the young man out in Oklahoma, I don't know how that's all going to play out. My suspicion is if they try to suspend him, he's probably going to get a lawyer and sue him, and he's probably going to be playing this year. And he may not have did anything at all. He said it was just kind of a joke. I don't know if it was or not, but we're probably going to find out about that.
Yeah, that prop bet thing. I have a college age son, and so I get to hang out with college age boys. They're all addicted to gambling. It's a complete nightmare. I apologize about the value judgment, but I really feel sorry for these young men. And the idea that you couldn't get to one of these players and say, hey, I need you to throw an interception halfway through the third quarter, because that's all I need. If you're up 58 points, fine, just throw one interception halfway through the quarter. I'll give you $1 million. Like, it's just so easy, so easy. But anyway, that wasn't my question. My question is, as a finance guy, the books always have to match, right? Money in's got to match money out, and so on and so forth. All this NIL money, where is it coming from? Where was it going before? Like, if these players are all getting paid billions of dollars or whatever the total, salary is for players all over the country, is that money that was not being spent on college football 5 years ago? Or are there booster clubs that are dying now because boosters would rather spend money on NIL? Like, where's it coming from? How do we balance that equation?
Well, and that's another thing, a topic that I was going to get into, which I'll just hit right now. Starting July 1st of this year, every school had the NCAA put in a rule where you could have revenue sharing. They call it rev share, where every university, every athletic department could spend $20.7 million on their athletes of sharing the revenue. All right. Most every school is going to spend about 75% of that, somewhere around 15 million on football. And most schools are handling it that if we're going to share the revenue, then we're going to share the majority of it with the sports that bring in the revenue, which we all know probably what those are on that. So that's 20.7 million. As I said, most of them are going to spend 15 million. That's ongoing right now. They're already doing that. The name, image, likeness part of it is still there. And they can still make as much money as they want to off the court or field. That is still there. But the money was, I'm not naive, not even the word. I was in this league long enough to know that, there certainly was some things going on for a lot of players, and not to any extent right now. The quarterback left Georgia, the Beck youngster, is at Miami, making $4 million this year. The Tennessee's got a offensive lineman freshman that's making 1.25, and he's starting because he's making. I mean, he's really good, I guess, but he's starting because he's making 1.25. But the money's out there. It's still going to be out there. I won't get into why the name, image, likeness is what it is, but I think I mentioned this to you last year, and I'll just hit it real quickly. If you play golf and you follow golf, it's kind of like the PGA and Live Golf. PGA had everything going their way. They saw down the road that there were going to be some things they should be doing. And in college athletics, they should have been sharing money with their players, because they were making, when head coaches are making 10, 12, $15 million, and players, technically aren't even supposed to give them a Coke. They should have seen that. They didn't, just like the PGA Tour didn't with Live Golf. All of a sudden, Liv comes in, messes things up. That's what happened with name, image, likeness. It's going to be with us a while, but this is putting, with the revenue sharing now, putting it under the university. All of the collectives for name, image, likeness, the university was outside the university. So it was somebody outside raising money, spending the money, and the university, certainly they were telling them who to spend it with, but they didn't have any control of the money. So that's they at least got that going right now. I think in a couple of years, it's going to probably be worked out, which there's certainly some rules on it, I would think. Yes.
Thanks for being here. My boys are going to be glued to the TV all season and paying attention to rankings. So the preseason rankings, is there a lot of stock that you put in a specific metric that's used and figuring out which one's going to be the most accurate? How are we falling? Is there any psychology involved in, oh, you started at 1 and fast fall,
Well, rankings, to me, and I think most people that follow it really closely are involved in it. It's conversation. The top 7 teams in both the coaches poll and the writers poll, the top 7 teams were in the college football playoff last year. And all 12 of them, 14, what do we have? All 12 of them are in the top 25. So it's just for talking purposes only, from my standpoint. And it kind of gets, it kind of gets like making a talk. It kind of gives you people to talk, something to talk about. But most everything goes off what they did last year. But the biggest change in this sport is that there's so many transfer portal players now that you can add. I think, and Larry's a North Carolina guy. I don't know if you knew that or not, but probably could tell. I think Belichick brought in 41 transfers this year. That's over half your football team essentially on that. And new players is you don't know exactly what you're getting. You got a pretty good idea, but until you get them out there and they start playing, you don't know really what's much. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. An old buddy of mine who's kind of funny. Somebody asked him, "Do you think Belichick could recruit?" And he said, "Well, have you ever seen his girlfriend?" So he can recruit.
Doug, thanks for being here. Playoff committee. Tell us about how are those folks appointed or selected? How often are they? Do they roll over, et cetera?
Well, there's roughly 15. I don't think they have an exact amount, but they've been at 15 the last several years. 4 of the 4 power conferences have their commissioners on there, and then the rest of them are appointed by the head of the college football playoff, which used to be Bill Hancock. I don't know what it is right now, who it is right now, but before they really didn't have any guidelines on how to pick teams. I think they did a pretty good job of it, but now they have a new analytical system that I haven't seen it yet. And the strength of schedule is going to play a major part of it, which it should. I mean, if you expect teams to play really tough opponents, and 6 of them are kicking off the year, well, 3 of those 6 that are in the top 10 are going to have a loss. So if you're going to do that, then you have to reward them at the end of the year when a team with the same record has losses or wins that aren't as good as theirs are, I guess would be the way to put it. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I think Roger kind of touched on everything. I was trying to understand. You've got Power 5, you've got 4 conferences plus the PAC, which is still available. Okay, so everything goes to 16 teams per conference, right? And then there's a commissioner that's appointed. Is that what's going to happen?
I don't think they'll all go to 16. A couple of them, I think Big Ten's 18 already.
Oh, they are.
But what they'll do is, and there's 4 conferences now. The
right.
The 12 still has the name, and they got it for one more year. They have to get 10 programs in there, and they just picked up the 10th, I think, Fresno State. But it's also the four conference champions, the Power Four, and then one of the group of five, which last year was Boise State. Those will be the five that are automatically in, and then the committee will pick the other 11. Now, this is next year, not for this year. This is next year.
Right.
But the good thing is that they changed this year, the seeding now. You know, Ohio State was ranked seeded number 8 out of 12 teams.
Right.
And anybody watched Ohio State play? I mean, Ohio State won by their 4 ball games. The least spread that they had was 11 points. All right, 11 points. They 24, 21, 16, 11. I mean, they were clearly at the end of the year the best team. But because they didn't win a conference, because they didn't win a conference, they didn't get to be one of the top seeds. Well, that's all changed now. Regardless of whether you win a conference or not, you're automatically in, but you're going to be seeded. You could win your conference and be seeded 12th.
Do you think there'll be a commissioner?
Yeah, I think there will at some point.
Yeah.
I know who it's not going to be. Not going to be Nick Saban.
Should there be some kind of limitation on how much these college guys could make, or some kind of rules? You know, the quarterback's making $4 million, but the line guys not making anywhere near that. Should there be any controls over that?
Nope. Supreme Court voted 9-0. I don't know if they voted 9-0 in the last 10 years in anything, but they voted 9-0 that you could not keep a college student, or anybody, but particularly a college student, which all these young men and young women were, from using their name, their image, or their likeness to make money. If I were a regular student and I wanted to go play a guitar somewhere down here at a bar and make $300, I could do it. If I was an athlete, I couldn't. And again, that's one of those things they didn't address that. And so the Supreme Court got involved. And once they came down with their decision on that, it's you're going to get sued as quickly as you can. The Maryland coach, I don't know if I forget his name right now, but he had an interesting comment. He had a bad year last year, and they asked him about it at the ACC meetings. He said, I lost my locker room because of name, image, likeness, because I didn't handle it right. And now you have to talk to your players, and there's going to be players that are making. There's not a college quarterback out there at a Power 5 school, no matter whether he's McIntyre. The McIntyre kid's redshirt freshman. He's making at least $1 million this year. There's not a Power 5 quarterback that's not making $1 million that's coming in to college. I mean, that's just the going rate for the good. The Pavia kid, Diego, is making over $1 million this year, and he's earning his. Go ahead, Larry.
Conversation.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay. Say I'm an advertiser. But anyway, is there any real validity, do you think, about North Carolina's example going into the SEC? And if things like that happen, even North Carolina basketball is bad.
I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you're going to see major college expansion, because let's just take Southeastern Conference. Next year, Big Ten, same way. Next year, when all this stuff kicks in, each team's going to be making about $100 million a year. So if you're going to add a team to the 16 teams and they're all making $100 million a year, let's say they're making $50 million a year. They're making about 55 now. It's got to be somebody that's going to bring in an additional $55 million, right? So who's that going to be? You saw what happened. Memphis has got an excellent athletic program right now. They couldn't get into the Big 12. They got rejected because they don't bring any viewership. And that's what you got to be able to bring in something with you. And I think almost everybody thinks too that the two teams that sued the ACC were Clemson and Florida State to get out of the league. They couldn't do it because all of those guys are tied up under a contract to 2036, where if they leave the conference, that all of their rights fees that they get from wherever they go goes back to the ACC. But I don't see those programs changing. Southeastern Conference has looked. Now, the one team out there, if Notre Dame decides they want to get into a league, they're going to have their choice. But I don't think there's anybody else out there right now. If you look, you know, if you look at what they bring, yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am.
So this, I think, is an NIL question and more all sport, but I think most of us in this room remember what happened back in the late 80s, early 90s, or maybe mid 80s, when the NBA started letting players come in when they're 17 and 18 years old and making millions and millions of dollars at too young of an age. And so I feel that they're letting these young players come in as quarterbacks, and they're 17, 18, 19 years old. Very few of them are even 20. They're handing them a fair amount of money. Are they providing any kind of assistance or support or education around, or are they literally just handing 17 and 18-year-olds $1 million, and are they going to be the Sean Kemp of this generation?
You know, they are doing that, and that's what
Sean Kemp had an agent.
That's actually what the collectives really are for. Some of them do. Some of them have agents, some of them don't. I mean, the famous quarterback at Tennessee that went to UCLA, his dad was his agent. So a lot of them have their families involved in it, and it's a concern without question. They do try to help them out with that, but again, this money goes into their account. Now, quick thing on that, you know, they say, where do they get that money? Well, they split it up. They get monthly. They get the first of every month. And so if you would leave, they say, what happens if you leave after 4 months? Well, then you don't get the money for the rest of the time, you know, but you get it. So they split it up monthly. Yes.
You know, Doug, I'm sad, having been an SEC guy since my father was an SEC football official, that we have spent 40 minutes or 30 minutes and we haven't said a dang thing about who has the best football team in the league, who's got the best quarterbacks, why we should watch out for Tennessee when they play Georgia. I mean, we've been talking about kids and money, which I think is so sad. I hate it.
Well, you know, that if you heard, that's one of the reasons, you know, with Coach Saban, when he got out, and you all have heard me talk about Coach Saban, when Coach Saban says something and when Belichick says something, I listen. You know, I mean, I listen. And one of the things he said when he got out, it wasn't the only reason he got out. He said, we had all the parents over for their last recruiting visit of last year. And the Sunday before they go back home on their official visit, the parents come over to my house. My wife goes with the wives, and I go with the husbands. And afterwards, you know, Miss Terry, as Eli Carr came to him and said, every single mother, the first thing that came out of their mouth was, how much money's my son gonna get? I have a grandson that's up at Tennessee right now, redshirt freshman. And I was talking to him about this. You know, there's some examples out there, and I think we're going to get to this eventually, because what coaches are doing now, it's kind of like you all as business people. When you hire somebody and you're interviewing them, if the first thing is how much money am I going to be making, you know, you probably, well, let me see, talk to somebody else. But you just think about this. Ty Simpson was the number one player in the state of Tennessee 4 years ago. He was a top 50 player in America. He went to Alabama. He's been there 4 years. He's only now getting his opportunity to play. He could have left at any time. Arch Manning, the same way. He was the number one player in America 3 years ago. This is his third year now, and he's finally getting an opportunity to play. Now, he played a little bit last year, but not too much. So I think what these coaches will do, and I think we're going to get through this pretty quickly, you know, as they're recruiting players, you better want to come here because this is a place where you want to get, you want to get a degree. You want to grow up here. You like this place. You want to be part of the community. I think you're going to see more and more programs do that. Now, are you going to take a chance on a great football player? Absolutely. I've told you, I know I told you this story before. I heard a coach one time, they asked him, had alumni at a board meeting, said, what's the most important things recruiting? Without question, I want someone with great character, great academics, and great talent. But occasionally I'll just take one with great talent. So that's kind of what happens on it. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to hit here real quick. Oh, by the way, sign of things to come. I don't know if you all saw this. Anybody know who David Booth is? David Booth just gave $300 million to Kansas Athletics to use strictly for Kansas Athletics. I Googled him. He looked in 2008, he gave $300 million to the University of Chicago business. So he's giving away $600 million. He was also the guy that paid $4.3 million for James Naismith's original rules of basketball. But you just think about this. What if Phil Knight decided, I'm going to give about $500 million to Oregon, or what if Jim Haslam said, you know what, I'm getting close to 90. He's in his 90s, as a matter of fact. I'm going to give $300 million to Tennessee for athletics. We're going to start seeing more and more of that, I think. And we're going to see how it plays out. Everybody talking right now about Texas Tech has put more money in their name, image, likeness this year than any other program in America, Texas Tech and football, because of one guy that's funding all this. So thank you. Appreciate it.
You probably have quite a few of these.
I do.
We're going to give you another one. And then I know you know the rodeo with this. If you will sign this, we do speak to elementary school kids, and we read to them, and we'll tell them about your time with us for this year. So thank you for coming.
Good Lord will, I'll see you there.
Yeah. All right, couple reminders. We are not meeting next week. Thank you to our guests, Randy, Richard, Larry, all the crew over here, Larry and Patsy, Jerry, Angela, Brad, Will, Nelson, and Tom and Randy. Thanks for coming back to visit us. All right, stacks of 8, not against the wall. And unless there's anything else for the good of Rotary, we're out of here.